President Obama has commuted the sentences of 153 prisoners and pardoned 78 more. It's the biggest act of presidential clemency on a single day ever, and it's only a drop in the bucket. The U.S. is home to about 5% of the world's population and more than 20% of the world's prisoners. Harsh sentencing laws, like mandatory minimums, often give a judge no choice but to hand down lengthy sentences, including life in prison. Starting in 1988, possession of as little as 5 grams of crack cocaine triggered a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 to 20 years behind bars. Laws like these disproportionately affect African Americans, who make up 13% of the total population, but 39% of the drug offenders in federal prisons. Now, President Obama is trying to undo some of the system's most unfair sentences. Michael Moynihan reports from California.
This September, more than 23 years after she was incarcerated for a nonviolent drug crime, 49-year-old Danielle Metz walked out of a federal prison in Dublin, California. Danielle was convicted of money laundering and conspiracy to distribute cocaine for her involvement in her then-husband's drug ring. Just generally, tell me how you feel right now.
I feel great. It's almost like a dream. Like I'm dreaming, but I know it's real.
You've been in prison for how long?
23 years and 8 months. I was sentenced to 3 life sentences plus 20 years.
3 life sentences plus, so you expected to die in prison?
Well, that's what man expected for me.
Yeah.
But I always had faith that I will get out. I just didn't know when, and I was kind of getting a little weary because, President Obama is leaving office and everything. In the next administration, I wouldn't be as hopeful.
That one's looking good.
Okay, my turn. I'm good.
After leaving the prison, Danielle headed to a halfway house in New Orleans. President Obama commuted Danielle Metz's sentence, along with those of 1,175 other prisoners convicted of nonviolent and mostly drug-related crimes. 394 were, like Danielle, serving life sentences. That's more than the last 11 presidents combined, and the most since Woodrow Wilson, who commuted the sentences of hundreds of alcohol offenders during Prohibition. Judge Nancy Gertner retired from the U.S. District Court in Massachusetts in 2011. She's in favor of the president's push for clemency. When you were on the bench, of the people you sentenced, what number do you think received unfair sentences?
I was on the bench for 17 years. I sentenced hundreds of largely African-American men to drug crimes. 80%, in my view, were unfair, unjust, or disproportionate. Certainly some of them were in the same category as Danielle Metz, which is a first offender who wound up in a mandatory minimum situation.
You realized later, or even while it was happening, that you were sentencing people to disproportionate and unfair sentences.
I realized that I was doing that as I was doing it. I kept a file on every human being I sentenced. I kept a spreadsheet so that I would understand what I was doing and relate one person to the other. The drug war brought all that in. Facing a mandatory minimum, there was no judging going on. You sentenced someone to the charge. The only judging going on was by the prosecutor who determined what the charge is.
Here's how the clemency process works. Only inmates who committed a federal crime and were sentenced to at least 10 years are eligible. They apply to the Department of Justice's Office of the Pardon Attorney. The office reviews the case and, if considered worthy, sends it along to the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, who then sends it to the White House Counsel, who does another review and sends it to the President, who makes a final decision, which cannot be appealed. Applications can be denied at any point along the way. The Obama administration has received nearly 32,000 applications for clemency.
Andrea. Mama! Hey! Who's it? Crazy. All right. Let me see. What you crying for? You're home now. All the crying is over. All the good times gonna start for me and you. Why are you crying? Aren't you happy? Oh.
Danielle hasn't been back to New Orleans in more than 2 decades.
Well, I made it to you, Ma.
You made it to me? I know you're happy, girl. If you never make it round no more, you're here now.
On the way to the halfway house, Danielle's friends and family, many of whom she hasn't seen in years, threw her a party.
All right, everybody say welcome home, Daddy. Welcome home. Cake. Y'all want a piece of cake?
Wait, is this your birthday?
No, this is just my homecoming celebration. Y'all know I've been in prison for 23 years. Y'all didn't know that?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I had to pinch myself to make sure this is real. I go to the halfway house and just the first day of my new life. It's a new beginning. I got a second chance. I'm gonna make the best of it.